Hello, this is the Nathaniel McGuire Show, and we're live in Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. Today I have with me Michelle Sher. She's here all the way from Toronto, Canada, and she has some awesome things to share with you about how to eat, the right way to eat. So I'm so happy to be here today.
I'm so happy to be here.
I've learned so much, like just from some of the things that you shared, but this is what we want to dive into. Help us with understanding the difference between dieting, eating healthy, eating clean, trying not to eat too much fat, versus really learning how to eat and the understanding of your mind when it comes to how to eat, how to think about eating. What's the difference? And did I just confuse myself talking about
Well, we're all very confused when it comes to eating and dieting, and our culture is very, very focused on dieting and losing weight. So the Am I Hungry program, which is a mindful eating program that was developed by Dr. McGuire that I incorporate into my teachings, is a very different way of thinking about food. Do you mind if I give you a tiny bit of background on myself, so maybe get the picture clearer? So originally I started out my career, I was a professional ballet dancer, and I was in a world where everybody was obsessed about how they looked and the food that they ate. I believed at the time that was very unique to that world. Once I left the dance world and had my children, what I noticed that we had these play groups. I was a stay-at-home mom for a while. And during the play groups, when the kids were babies, everybody had a wonderful time talking and enjoying life. And as soon as the children were introduced to solid foods and became toddlers, all of a sudden the focus was around what they should eat, what they shouldn't eat, how much they should eat. And what was really unusual to me is I noticed that babies have a very instinctive way of eating. And with the Am I Hungry program, we talk about that instinctive way of eating that babies have, and that we've lost that ability to connect to our body, to actually know when it is that we are hungry.
So you're saying that we don't pay attention to the fact that when babies come here, they naturally know what to eat, when they're hungry, when to stop eating, and we don't always pay attention to that. And I think if I'm hearing you correctly, we all have that, we just need to be retrained, or is that taken out of us? How does that work?
So when you hear a baby crying because they're hungry, typically what happens? You give the baby food.
That's right.
Does the baby keep on and on eating?
No.
It stops.
That's right.
When it's had enough, it spits it out. When it's a toddler, and we respect that as babies. When we're just on breast milk, we respect that. Feed on demand. Then they become toddlers and you start introducing the solids. And if you watch children automatically, if you give them something they love to eat, do they carry on eating and eating and eating until they
No.
They don't. They automatically stop. And we bring our own issues to the table. Excuse the pun. But we then impose those beliefs that we carry with us from the time we were younger.
Yes.
And telling our children, you haven't had enough. You'll be hungry 5 hours from now, 6 hours from now. You should eat now. So you can see how we start off with that real body sensation, that body connection. It's a survival tool. We know when to eat and when to stop. And we really have lost that ability to connect with our body.
So how do you train someone who their whole life, they were taught things like don't leave the dinner table before you finish all of your food, or tremendous shame about eating cookies. How do you retrain them to think about eating the right way and learning to trust themselves? Like, what do you take them through?
And that's an amazing question, because it is one of the toughest things to do. When you start off in the program, the reason why people come to me specifically for the Am I Hungry mindful eating program is because they have tried dieting before.
Yes.
And they've been on diets, and they've been off diets, and on diets, and off diets, and clearly it's not working for them. So they're very, very frustrated. What we do is it's an 8-week program. So either we're working with people who are eating because they may just have emotional reasons and triggers around their food. And sometimes we're working as a therapist with people who have actual diagnosable binge eating disorders.
Yes.
The Am I Hungry program does have something to address both of those concerns, using the same principles with slight variations depending on your targeted audience.
So sometimes people don't realize that while they're eating, the reason they're overeating the trauma that's associated with food. Can you talk a little bit about the fact that people don't realize they have trauma associated with how they eat, or they have some trauma and they might self-medicate by eating? Can you tell us a little bit about that,
So I'm
please?
going to be cautious on answering that question, only because they're two very different, distinct. Many people eat not because they have any acknowledged trauma within
Yes.
it, or major trauma. We all have traumas in our life, and that's that's just a given, part of the human condition, right? But it's not necessarily that they have some major trauma, that they may still be using food as a way to satisfy other needs. So many times it's emotional needs that have been unmet. When you look at typical diets focus on what you're eating,
Yes.
right? So this is what you eat, this is how you eat, this is how much you need to eat. Very rule driven. So with the Mindful Eating Am I Hungry program, we look at the underlying source, the underlying driver, which is your why.
Yes.
So why do you eat in the first place? Once we understand why we eat, that really dictates every other,
Yes.
when we're eating, what we're eating. Whether we're choosing to eat chocolates and candy and all the sort of ultra sugary and fatty foods, or maybe we're choosing some other alternatives.
So this all seems way too easy, meaning that when you really talk to Michelle, she really helps you understand this one question that's profound, that changes everything, and it's before you go to eat something, why are you eating? And we don't ask these questions, we're not really paying attention to how we're thinking. So can you tell me, because this changed my life just in the time I've been here, you did something with chocolate. Can you explain what you did with the chocolate?
It came to your mind straight away, that chocolate piece.
I was carrying it.
And you were carrying it around.
Last couple of days.
So in the program we talk about so-called good and bad foods.
Yes.
And there's a real power that we give to all these bad foods that we shouldn't be eating. And I use chocolate because that's the one that many people associate with it's their first go-to.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have the chocolate, I shouldn't have the chocolate. And we know that what we resist persists.
Yes.
Now, it's a very simple concept. It doesn't mean that it's easy. Like anything, it takes practice and commitment. So,
Well, can you explain a little bit more resist, that piece, and persist?
Yes.
Can you say a little bit more about that?
So when I look at, let's talk about food, for instance, and I have a whole list of foods that I consider to be bad foods. It's interesting, those foods are also the bad foods, also the foods that I tend to use as treats,
Yes.
which doesn't make any sense, that I would be treating myself with a so-called bad food.
And rewarding yourself.
Rewarding
Yes.
myself when I'm not really rewarding myself. But we give so much power to those good and bad foods. And the Am I Hungry program really neutralizes that whole piece. It's not, ultimately we understand that certain foods are better for
Yes.
you more of the time than other foods. But it's not an all or nothing approach. It's not black and white. So when we look at balance and variety and moderation in the way that we choose our foods, and we extend that to our life, when we live our life in balance,
Yes.
variety and moderation, as opposed to those real strict black and white rules that diets impose
Yes.
on us, there's a real difference. And the chocolate loses that enticement.
Yes.
Yeah, it suddenly becomes a very neutral energy, and it is something that you learn to be able to enjoy when you want, without the feeling of guilt, and knowing that you're not going to consistently overindulge, feeling out of control. That piece scares people. So what happens is people don't touch all the bad foods, only for so long, and then there's that breaking point. So
That's why diets don't work.
Diets don't work.
Yeah.
And the Am I Hungry program talks about the overeating cycle, the restrictive eating cycle, and what we call the instinctive eating cycle. And what's very interesting is that restrictive eating cycle, so that dieting, actually triggers the very thing you're trying to avoid. That dieting triggers
Yes.
the overeating. It's also important, Nathaniel, a really important piece is that Am I Hungry is a weight neutral program. So it doesn't mean that somebody won't lose weight on the program? Absolutely does not mean that. But it means that we take our focus off of weight and onto feeling better about ourselves, making healthier choices, and learning to honor our bodies and our needs.
I love it because I know just clinically you're focused on the right thing, and that's the mind, and you're empowering people. And with the persist piece and resist, I'll never forget, I think it was Sunday school, and it was just a Sunday school teacher. I remember all the way back when I was little, but they said, don't think about a white horse. Don't think about a white horse. Don't think about a white horse in green grass. By the time you keep telling someone not to think about something, you've implanted it in their mind, and that's all they're thinking about.
Absolutely.
And how much do we do that with food?
All the time.
Yeah.
All
And we're
the time.
always concerned really about the weight piece, but not the mindfulness piece. So also, can you tell me, what did you say to me about, it was a sentence about if you're enjoying something.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite sayings.
That's not getting out of my head like that.
It's a great saying, so
Yes.
let's see if I get it right. It is, we don't overeat because we enjoy our food too much. We overeat because we don't enjoy it enough.
Okay, you gotta look into the cameras.
I'm going to say
You
this
gotta
to
say that
everyone to
again.
really
Take
think
this
about
in.
this.
Take this
because
in.
It's very important. We don't overeat because we enjoy our food too much. We overeat because we don't enjoy it enough. And that was the piece when I used the chocolate with you guys. And I did that mindful chocolate exercise. Everybody opened that chocolate, it was gone before you had a second. And afterwards you realized, oh, I didn't really want
Why did I eat that?
Why did I eat
Yes.
that? And if you had at that time had the knowledge to know, just stop and ask yourself that question, which the am I hungry,
Yes.
suggests, am I hungry?
And people went around, so she offered this chocolate, and then, some of us ate it, some of us held on to it, but we talked about how we guilt eat. I think even Lucia brought the point up, like, somebody offers you something, you have to get this self-care to ask yourself, why am I eating this? Is this to make them feel good, but now I feel bad? Am I afraid to say I don't want to eat this? And there's a big cultural piece around food. But we do this to ourselves, and then because we don't think like that on a consistent basis, we walk around taking and eating things. But now when I go to eat something, if I'm starting to eat too much, that comes to my head, and I say, you know what, this must not be that good. Because why am I, and it's not that fulfilling, and I'm overeating, but something that's good, then I'm taking a piece of it, and I'm really enjoying it.
You really enjoy it. So I need to be really, really clear. It's not that at times, we all at times will overeat. It's just part of the cycle. What becomes a problem is when that overeating is consistent. And when it's fluctuating between a binging and a restricting and binging and restricting, because each one facilitates the other, right? If we understand that there will be times you will ask yourself the question, am I hungry?
Yes.
And there will be times you'll say, no, but
Yes.
really want it. And we have tools and techniques and strategies around that. I mean,
So I hear you saying you need to have balance.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm doing something wrong every time I overeat. It's that if I continue to overeat all the time, that's when I need to pay attention and ask the question. So you're really big on balance.
Balance.
Why?
So it's not just about balance with food. And what I love about this program is it starts out about food. And I'm a psychotherapist. A lot of people will come to me thinking that they're dealing with issues around food, and many times it is. But often, through that food piece, when we do some digging, we can often find other concerns along the way. Now, some people don't need therapy. It's a coaching piece with Am I Hungry, and that's great. It's a program that is for the general population. And for other people, there are emotional triggers that are really, excuse the pun, but weighing them down in their lives. And the piece that is so cool is you look at the expressions we have. Her plate's too full. You've bitten off more than you can chew. Is that an American?
Yes.
Bitten off more than you can chew. So how we eat is usually a great indicator of how we do everything else in our life.
Things like you are what you eat are just indicators.
You are how you eat.
Yes.
Right? You are why you eat.
Yes.
More than just the what. More than just the what.
There can be a slight window to me about, and if I take what you're saying about how we handle even our life, and we may not realize it. So if we're thinking balance, then we're eating balance. And if we're eating balance, it can play out in other areas of our life.
It will play out in other areas.
So how long did it take you to kind of get this understanding, go through this process, and have it be a way of life?
A way of life. So for me, I was fortunate in that, like I said, I came from a dance background, which is very consumed with diet and eating. I was very fortunate that I had a family who, before mindfulness and mindful eating became a thing, were naturally doing that.
Yes.
My dad had one rule at the kitchen table, which sounds bizarre when I share that rule and I extend that to my family and friends when they come for dinner. But we only have one rule in this house, he would say, and that is eat what you want and you leave what you don't. And people would, my friends would be like, huh?
Freedom.
That's the rule?
Yeah.
And that was the way that I was brought up.
Wow.
What happened for me was when I was working with clients and working on anxiety and different emotional stuff, many people ended up coming to me with issues around food. What I found was that the mindfulness that I used in my practice around anxiety,
Yes.
the embracing of all our emotions, being able to observe without judgment. In my mind, it had to have it had to make some sense when it came to food.
Yes.
So I started doing my research, and that's when I found the I'm Hungry program, and that just made sense to every part of my being in the way that I had always viewed food. Growing up, just made sense.
So this has been like the whole conference. We've been talking about psychology, theology, the spiritual component, and so when I hear these things, I'm really big on some of these spiritual pieces. So what's awesome when I hear your culture, when we're talking to me about the Jewish background, I know that cursings and blessings. Sometimes the Jewish community can talk about what you can do,
Right.
to talk more about what you can do versus what you can't do.
Right.
And other cultures tend to talk more about what you can't do,
Right.
which is that piece that brings shame. And so we don't understand how powerful it is when we're parenting around eating to talk about kids. This is what you can do. This is what you can eat. This is important that you know that this is healthy, and don't bring a lot of shame about what you can't eat. But all we focus on is you can't eat this, you can't do this, and you have to eat this.
Absolutely.
And some of the things that causes in our mind. So this is a big retraining, because I know as people are listening to this, some of them are saying, okay, there you go. These kids can do whatever they want, eat whatever they want, and not realizing it's actually the freedom that when you empower them to make wise choices, that they do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's not about lack of structure.
Yes.
It's not about that at all. But we make sure that they have healthy options. We make sure the things are available to them. Often, a parent will come to me telling me that their child has issues around food. And when we dig deeper, we start to see that many of those attitudes towards food are coming from the parent.
Yes.
And that's not a blame thing, it's just that's how
figure it out.
It is.
Yes.
And once parents figure that out and they become more at peace with themselves and their wants and honoring their needs, honoring their needs, really that's what it is, right? Then the whole dynamic around food and the power and the struggle.
Yes.
9 times out of 10, parents will tell you the dinner table is a huge struggle.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be that struggle. It doesn't need to.
So what you're saying is we just need to eat all the fat food and all the.
Oh, I wish. Just go ahead and have an absolute party. And I'm so glad you said that, because there is that. Oh, this means I just go crazy. This is great. This is not about that. And remember, it's a program. It's an 8-week program, otherwise lifelong program. It's not a one-time thing. So you are given tools. You are given. It's not just ask, are you hungry? And if you are, eat. If you don't.
Yes.
If you want it, what the hell, have
Yes.
it. It's not that. That's a very sort of brief, abbreviated version of what it is. But it is about redefining how we are treating ourselves and honoring our body and our needs. Looking at where our boundaries are.
Yes.
Where are our boundaries when it comes to food? What about how does it relate to our boundaries in other areas of our lives, right?
I'll give you a great example. Many times churches will have what you call like a 40-day fast, and we call it the Daniel fast. And when you study it, Daniel was not fasting. This was how he ate.
Right.
you know, and so it was a disciplined way he learned to eat that was healthier. But what we then do is turn it into a diet and say, you don't eat this, you don't eat this. And then when people come off of it, many times they're worse and they don't understand why, because this was not a diet. This was a lifestyle. And that's the main difference.
Thank you for saying that. That's a perfect example. Is that Lent that you're talking about? What is
well, people do that.
The same thing for
Lent,
right?
Same thing happens with Lent, yes.
So a lot of times people use Lent as an excuse to diet. Because I won't have chocolate because of Lent. But when that is the motivation, ultimately you just end up falling short and disappointing yourself. You know, what we're actually doing is we're setting ourselves up for failure over and over and over again. Right? And once people start understanding how the Am I Hungry program works and are given the tools to be able to start learning, relearning how to self-regulate and honor themselves, then it just opens their world up, really opens their world up to a lot of different possibilities.
If you want to get a hold of Michelle, how do they get a hold of you?
They can get hold of me on my website. They can email me at MichelleSher@WithMichelleNow.com. Or my business number is 647-227-8101.
Is it also possible to do like from phone sessions or things of that nature, or is it typically something that the person does either need to come to you or you need to come to them?
It can be done as a one-on-one on a phone session. I will be doing webinars, and I believe my first webinar is starting sometime in May. And otherwise it's an in-person either group program or one-on-one.
Okay.
So it really it fits everybody and everybody's lifestyle depending on where they're at.
So this is Michelle Sher. If you want to eat right, you have no excuse now. You've heard that there's somebody here to help you, to guide you, and not just to do another diet, but to make it a lifestyle. And what I love about what she's doing, it helps you to think right. This affects other areas of your life and causes you to understand the importance of balance. It also takes away, aren't you tired of just being mad or shamed or feeling guilty about something you ate? Imagine food not causing that level of anxiety to you. So, okay, well, that's it. This is the Nathaniel McGuire Show. We're right here in Kill Devil Hills with the Trauma Masterminds, and this is definitely a mastermind here, and hopefully we'll bring you some other things. Good night.
Thank you, Nathaniel.
Thank you.